Hi there. My name is Lydia Martinez. I'm the founder and owner of L Marketing and Events, and I am here today with my friend Zach, who is the owner of Auto Nurture. And Zach and I met in a group that was designed to help agency owners grow because we're both in that awkward teenage stage with our businesses where we're trying to become full-fledged adults. Hi, Zach. How are you today? It's so good to have you.
I'm doing great, Lydia. Thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here.
So good to be here with you. So when you and I first met, we were kind of comparing notes and chatting through how it was that we came to start our business. And I love your story, and I'd love for you to share that.
Yeah, happy to. And it was interesting to see all the similarities, right, in our stories, and I'm sure we'll get into that, right? But yeah, so my journey with my agency didn't start that long ago, actually. I was working in my corporate job. I was living in South Florida, and was pretty comfortable. I'm not gonna lie, I was in a relationship, and I was just happy to be where I was and kind of in the mix. But I always kind of knew that I wanted more, right? Um, and you know, right before the pandemic in 2019, I was actually getting ready to move to Europe for
Yeah.
that relationship. That was me just saying, you know what, like people are more important than a job, and I was willing to take the risk for that person because I trusted myself. I'm confident in my ability. I think I could handle anything, right? And ended up planning to move to Europe, to the UK, to be with her, and I was going to quit my job and go. And then it turns out that the relationship actually ended before I can get over there. But because of that, I had already made my mind up that I was going to take off. So it was really hard to say, I was getting ready to move to Europe. So it's really tough to tell yourself, well, no, you're just going to stay here where
Kidding.
you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're in the office, like the walls are just shrinking every single day, and it became more and more, right? I felt like I was chained. So I decided, if I said I was going to go to the Europe, maybe I'm not going to the UK, but I'm going to go to Europe anyway. So I quit my job, moved to Portugal, and wanted to start my own business in Portugal. And I had already done a little bit in the staffing industry. So I was like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do, and I can do that from anywhere, and that's it. So after the pandemic hit, I was in staffing, and I was actually in Amsterdam when the pandemic hit, and it forced me to come back to the States. But it was actually a blessing in disguise because when I came back to the States, that's when I was able to really focus and build my agency now, and really put the time in. And like I said, a blessing in disguise. It's been
Yeah.
amazing ever since, and it would
Yeah.
have never happened if I didn't take that risk and trust myself, right?
Right. Jump off that cliff just a little bit. So Zach and I have some interesting parallels. We actually discovered that we were in Portugal at the exact same time, right before the pandemic, which we thought was hilarious. But my story in starting my agency is a little bit similar to Zach's. I'd been working at Whole Foods Market. I had this career. I thought I wanted to move up. And suddenly I realized that I kind of didn't want it anymore. And I told my family and friends, I was like, I don't want to do another holiday season in retail. I'm going to quit at the end of September. Like by October 1st, I want out unless I get a promotion and raise, and then I'll stay. But then I chickened out. And I was like, well, I could probably hack it. I can stick around just a little bit longer. We've got a big trip planned. I can just push through. I'm tough. I can make it. And then all of a sudden, at the very end of September, I was offered a promotion and raise at my job. So I was offered the promotion and raise with one hand, and with the other hand, they're like, but your current position is being eliminated. And so I had this decision to make. Do I go for this job, or do I step off this cliff? But I felt like I'd already put it out there to the universe and to everybody that I wanted to move on. And I realized if I didn't take the opportunity right then as it was presented to me, I was going to somehow, I felt like I would be less worthy in the future for the opportunities that I really wanted, or less able to take them, or I would feel less bold in stepping off that cliff. So I literally went into work the next day and was like, yeah, I'm going to quit. And I didn't know what I was going to do. So a few days later, I went in. I was like sad for the weekend. That was on a Friday. I was sad for the weekend. And Monday, I was like, okay, I'm going to send a couple of emails. If I can get a client by the end of today, maybe I'll start my own business. I'd done consulting on the side for years. I could probably do something. And then I was like, but if I don't, then I guess I'll start brushing up my resume and see what's up. I sent 3 emails. I had 3 clients by the end of the day. And so that's how
Incredible.
I started this thing that 5 years later, we've got this amazing team, and we get to meet amazing people, and we get to talk with amazing people like you that are just inspiring in what they're doing and living their dreams. So tell me a little bit about what your agency specializes in.
Yeah. So, growing up, my father spent time as a mortgage broker. Okay. So I've been kind of around that industry a little bit. And I had done, digital marketing throughout the years as well, here and there. It wasn't like my core corporate job, though.
Right.
It was always on the side, and that was because it was something that I always wanted to do, but I never quite found my opportunity to do it for someone else or anything. So I just did it on my own here and there. Did some e-com and things in that space. So we found a big opening in the mortgage industry because of circumstances right now. Refinances are through the roof, and interest rates are super low right now. So. Right. It's been it was a very big opportunity that, we wanted to grab onto. So we specialize in lead generation for the mortgage industry specifically, which is something a little bit different than I think a lot of agencies do, because a lot of agencies are marketing agencies first, and we also do mortgage, right? It's one of many. Right. For us, we're, hyper focused on the mortgage industry. We live and breathe it. So we really understand all of the pain points in the industry for lead gen in that space. So it's been really fun to solve every problem. And then when you solve every problem, you kind of realize why did these problems exist for so long? It's actually very easy to solve these problems. You just eliminate whatever makes the lead a bad lead, and you have a business, mm-hmm. right? So it's been incredible. I love what I do every single day. I love it. I love that this is something that I've built, that I'm helping people, that I'm actually, I've created this value, this really unique product, and people are benefiting from it, loads. We have amazing feedback, and it's just incredible to look back on everything that led up to today.
Yeah.
And you think of every decision you made. If you turned left instead of right, things could have been different. And there's been definitely some ups and downs throughout it. Okay, definitely some lows, but it was, looking back, it was all worth it. 100%, it was all worth it. And it all started with that, one decision.
Yeah. One of the things that I really like about you, Zach, is that you are a very technical and analytical person. So you come at it from a perspective of, you talked about solving problems and eliminating concerns to find the people that really truly are great leads. And you couple that with a lot of technical knowledge. You're almost a technician in that you like to tinker and figure things out and refine and revise processes. So tell me a little bit about how you came to that, because I think that's really unique.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and you're spot on. Okay. And I think that's part of the reason why I'm so happy right now, is because, listen, when you're a cog in the corporate wheel, you don't have many opportunities to change, to make systematic changes in whatever business you're working for, right? You can suggest changes, but you can't implement it because you've got the bureaucracy of the whole machine, right? Yeah. And for this, I'm able to look at a system and say, you know what, we can improve this, and I can take actionable steps right then and there. And it is so fulfilling to identify a problem and then solve it very quickly, right there. Mm-hmm. I can go in and I can say, I want this to change, and do it. And I'm fortunate enough to be technical enough to do it myself. I'm in Zapier. I consider myself one of the most technical people in the company. But I'm also the main sales rep too, right? So, right. But when it comes to the specific problems for what we do, So like a lot of the times, and I'll give one thing that I know makes it super different that nobody else really does. One of the big problems is, I mean, just across the board is lead quality, right?
Yeah.
We want, these leads aren't good enough. And, for us, we wanted to eliminate every single potential avenue that could make the lead a bad lead. One of those things in particular is poor credit leads. Okay. I explained to our partners, I'm like, listen, you're not a bad person, but you just can't help every single person with credit repair. That's not why you're a loan officer or a mortgage broker, right? Doesn't mean you don't want to help people. That's why you're a mortgage broker, so you can help people. You're getting people into their forever homes. Okay, that's a big deal.
That's a big deal.
Right? Yeah. So we understand that. And one of the things that a lot of these marketing agencies, lead gen companies, they'll deliver poor credit leads, or they'll either not deliver the poor credit lead at all, or they'll deliver those and say, listen, like, this is up to you to make it work. Exactly. No, not really a lot of accountability on that. So one of the things that we do, we're like, okay, what's the way to solve that problem? Because we're going to generate poor credit leads, whether anybody likes it or not. It's just a perception thing, whether we show them or we don't show them, right? I can get 100 leads, 50 are bad credit, 50 are good credit. I'm only going to show you the good credit. So you think you got 50 good credit leads, right? But what happens to those 50 other poor credit leads that you paid for? They belong to you. So we want to get as much value from those leads as possible.
Yeah.
So what is the way to turn those poor credit leads into good credit leads? That's to repair their credit ourselves. Okay. Right. So, because again, they don't have time, right? So what we do for every lead that they generate that has poor credit, we will take them to our credit repair company. We will repair their credit and then bring them back to them down the road, right? So nobody slips through the cracks. We can help those people too. And then we can help the mortgage broker down the road, because what we're really trying to do at the end, in order to scale a business, you need to create short-term, medium, long-term wins, right? So 6 months down the road, you have all three of those happening every single day. And a lot of people only look to tomorrow. They don't look down the road.
Well, and especially in the mortgage industry, one of the biggest challenges is like people aren't buying a house, every couple months. For the most part.
Exactly.
Like the house is an investment. You're going to buy a house. You're going to be there for at least probably 2 years or longer. And so it's very, very important that you've got this kind of built-in funnel, especially because there are ups and downs in the real estate industry. You want to be sure that you've got some immediate wins. You've got money coming in right now for your overhead. You've got people that are planning and looking ahead for 6 months or 12 months down the road. And then you have the people that are like, I know that my goal is to buy a home one day. I can't afford it right now. I don't have any money. I don't have a down payment. My credit is poor, but I know that that's my big picture goal and what I'm working towards. So I love that you're taking care of all those different people that are different at different stages. That's incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely the long game sometimes. And it's best if it is the long game, you're prepared. Right.
Yeah. We work with several real estate agents, and we kind of work with them on just that, where it is, let's consider and keep in mind that you are building your authority as somebody in the industry so that when people are ready, you are top of mind.
Exactly.
Versus, second tier, third tier, whatever.
Absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about how you've been kind of growing personally as a business owner, because I feel like personal growth has to happen before business growth happens.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say
comfortable sometimes. Yeah. I know I'm comfortable with that.
It's definitely one of those things. Well, I can't imagine not having this, as a business owner. But I think the company's going to die tomorrow. And it's just a constant anxiety. It's not crippling, but it's just there. And I don't know if that's because me personally, I'm an overthinker. Like you said, I'm very analytical. Like I like to be prepared for every scenario. And that means I'm vulnerable to every potential scenario, and I'll feel it when I'm thinking about it. But for me, I use that to my advantage, right? I think that's a superpower, and that's how I view it. Yeah. Because I feel like I can handle the weight. And then, react accordingly. And I try to stay organized, have my thoughts organized in that perspective. But I'd be lying to you if I said that every once in a while I'm sitting there and we haven't made a sale in a little while, you know? And I'm like, well, the grand scheme of things, it is a dot. It is a blip on the radar that, you know, is nothing. And it's just, you know, I'd say that's one of the major growth, you know, things is dealing with that,
Yeah.
trusting others, you know, delegating. We know how important that is. Like, you know, right now we talked about it. I'm desperate to delegate at this point. And I'd say from a growth perspective, it comes down to trusting that you've put the right people in place, that
Yeah.
every decision you made is from your experience, and you need to trust that. Know that the worst case scenario, how realistic that is, taking a good look at it. How realistic is this? And
Yeah.
also looking at your current support system too, right? Like, if you've got a good support system, there really is, there is a limit on how bad it can get,
Yeah.
you know, and really taking a look at that and using that as a blanket of security.
I 100% understand that. You know, for me last year, we work with so many people in very creative industries. We work with chefs and restaurateurs and food producers and you know, artisans and event producers, and all those industries were heavily impacted last year. And so I had 6 weeks where, like, I just brought on new people onto my team, and I had 6 weeks where very literally overnight, I had just signed a contract with Cirque du Soleil to help them with their PR and marketing for an event. And the very next day, I thought I was going to lose my business. It was overnight, and it was terrifying.
It's so scary.
It was so scary. But the thing that I learned during all of that, I love what you said about a support system, because I had a good support system, both my family, other business owners, clients. I had one client who reached out and was like, my industry is doing great. I'm going to prepay for the next 6 months because I want you to be around. And
Dream.
right, and it was
Great.
like
Yeah.
a little tiny thing that like gave me the courage to put my head down, get up off my couch, and push forward, and keep working. And last year we still grew almost 40% year over year, while still having the 3 worst months I've had since my first year in business. And so
Fantastic.
for me, that actually, as scary as it was in the moment, it really gave me a sense of confidence that I'm creative and I'm a problem solver and I will find a way.
And spot on. And I think that's what it is. I think there's an underlying imposter syndrome, you know, happening. And I look in the mirror, you know, and when I'm feeling confident, and it's the truth. It's like, listen, I know what I'm doing here. Like, when I really, like, you know, look at myself, I know what I'm doing. I know that everybody that comes on board, they're going to get awesome results. I know that that the team is going to work tooth and nail to get them those results.
Yeah.
I know that people's money is safe with me because I know myself, I know my team, I know how I'd like to run my business. And it's all of these things that when you're in there, you need to take a step back in order to remind yourself of those things, right? It's very easy to get caught, you know, a foot in front of you, and then that's all you can see. But then you look at the whole bigger picture, and you know, you need to respect yourself a little bit, right? Like, you know, you need to be proud of yourself for what you've done, and the confidence to know that, listen, even in the worst case scenario, I bet you I can do it again.
Yeah.
Right?
I can do something again. I've done it before. I've done hard things.
Exactly.
I can do whatever it is that I need to do again. You know, and I love what you said about that, looking in the mirror even when you have imposter syndrome. Because I mean, I've been doing marketing for 17 years now. I have a wealth of experience. And even now, sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't belong in this room. Everybody's going to know. I suffer from imposter syndrome too. I'm not afraid to admit it. But looking in the mirror and acknowledging where you were and where you are now, I think is really important. And recognizing that Like, I built this thing. It would not exist without me.
Exactly.
That's a
Exactly.
very
That's
real
that.
accomplishment.
That's that. Like, yeah, like, I feel like there's this weird thing where people don't want you to praise yourself too much because then it might come off as being cocky or whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, you need to be proud of yourself. Like, people
Right.
need to reflect on your accomplishments and really analyze that. People a lot of the times only analyze where they've fallen short. And people don't pat themselves on the back, enough. And it happens to a lot of people I speak to. They'll talk about something that's good news, that's like an accomplishment that they've had, and they don't look too happy about it.
They'll belittle
And
themselves over it.
yeah, and it's one of those things where, if anything, for anybody's hearing this, like for somebody that, if they can't congratulate themselves, then you need to be a good friend and congratulate them and remind them of how great of that of accomplishment that is. So for me, I make it my mission to be at least that person in the people around me in their lives. Listen, if you've done something that you should be proud of, I'm gonna make sure that you're gonna feel proud of it because you deserve to.
Yeah, I love being that cheerleader. When I was in high school, I used to compete in theater and debate competitions. And, I won like statewide competitions. I had a ridiculous number of trophies that embarrassingly I hung on to for way too long. But I remember in high school, I'm like 15, 16 years old, and people would say to me, "Oh, hey, congratulations on winning." And I would say, "Well, thank you so much. I worked really hard for it. I really appreciate that." And then they would try to tear me down over it, saying I was too cocky and too proud. And it made me feel terrible. It made me feel terrible because it was like they expected me to respond like, "Oh no, I don't think the judges really knew what I was just really lucky." And the judges were just like, they just kind of liked me. It's okay. It's not a
I
big deal.
hate that.
And
Yeah,
that's what they expected. And granted, we were all kids.
yeah, of course. There's always that little jealousy and everything, and
We were all kids, but
couldn't give them an inch.
My takeaway and lesson from that was like, never be that person that, one, isn't proud of what you accomplished, and two, that tears down other people for their accomplishments or allows them to tear down themselves. So I love that.
Yeah,
Love
absolutely.
that. And that, I think, will be our takeaway for anybody that listened in today. Well, Zach, thank you so much again for joining me. I really appreciate it. It is always just a delight, and it's uplifting to me visiting with you. Again, Zach's company is Auto Nurture, and he really focuses on helping those helping those mortgage brokers for lead generation. That's, great high quality leads and that has some longevity. Thanks again, Zach, for being here. I really appreciate it. I'm sure we'll talk again.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you for everybody watching. And it's been a pleasure. I love having these conversations with you. They get me riled up, and, I like to talk to anybody who inspires me. And Lydia, you're one of those people. So thank you so much again.